Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Ever wondered what's considered too risky for the Guinness Book of World Records? Just think about that for a second. We're talking about the same folks who cheerfully document people launching themselves from the edge of space, hoisting trucks with their molars, or holding their breath underwater for what feels like forever. These are people pushing their bodies to the absolute brink, dancing with danger just to claim a record. Yet there's one record they've completely banned. One challenge they've labeled so reckless, so catastrophically damaging to human health, that they've officially pulled the plug on it. It's not some death-defying leap. It's not an extreme physical marathon. It's simply trying to stay awake as long as humanly possible. The science is so compelling, so frighteningly clear, that even the guardians of world records decided that encouraging sleep deprivation is basically encouraging slow-motion self-destruction. That single fact might be the most eye-opening way to introduce the book we're diving into today, Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams, by neuroscientist Dr. Matthew Walker. This isn't just a collection of neat trivia, it's an urgent, passionate, science-backed wake-up call to all of us. It exposes a silent epidemic of sleep loss sweeping the planet and reveals the devastating price we're paying for it. Dr. Walker, a neuroscience professor at UC Berkeley and former Harvard psychiatry professor, has devoted decades to studying this mysterious third of our existence. He's not just a researcher, he's become something of a sleep crusader, and with good reason. His work shows that in just 1 century, we've completely abandoned our biological need for proper sleep. And this abandonment is fueling so many of our modern health crises, from heart disease and Alzheimer's to anxiety and obesity. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this forgotten foundation of health. I promise that by the time we're done, you'll never look at your pillow the same way. You'll realize that sleep isn't a luxury. It's not self-indulgence, and it's definitely not laziness. It's your life support system. It's nature's most powerful weapon against death. It's, quite simply, your superpower. And today, you're going to learn how to unlock it. To really grasp the power of sleep, we need to start with a puzzle that's stumped scientists for ages. From an evolutionary perspective, sleep seems utterly ridiculous. Think about it. When animals sleep, they're completely defenseless. They can't hunt for food. They can't find mates. They can't guard their young from predators. From every angle, sleep looks like evolution's biggest blunder. As sleep scientist Alan Rechtschaffen once put it, if sleep doesn't serve an absolutely vital function, then it's the biggest mistake evolution ever made. And yet, every single animal species we've studied sleeps, from tiny fruit flies to massive blue whales, from hummingbirds to great white sharks. Sleep has survived, despite all the obvious risks, since life itself began on this planet. This tells us something incredible. The benefits of sleep must be so massive that they completely outweigh all the dangers. For centuries we asked, why do we sleep? Expecting one simple answer. Maybe it saves energy, or lets our bodies rest. But the truth, as Dr. Walker reveals, is far more intricate and beautiful. Turns out, there isn't a single major organ or brain process that isn't dramatically boosted by sleep or seriously damaged without it. So how does this nightly magic happen? How does your body know when it's time to power down? 2 powerful, distinct forces control it all. The first is your internal 24-hour clock, your circadian rhythm. Deep in your brain sits a tiny master clock called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It's barely bigger than a pinhead, but it's conducting your body's entire biological orchestra. It controls your daily patterns of sleeping and waking, your mood swings, your energy levels, your body temperature, even your appetite. For years we assumed this clock simply followed the sun, but in 1938, Professor Nathaniel Kleitman ran a radical experiment. He and his assistant set up camp deep inside Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, so deep that sunlight couldn't reach them. They wanted to see what would happen to their sleep patterns when completely cut off from day and night cycles. Did they spiral into random chaos, sleeping and waking at odd hours? Not at all. They kept a remarkably steady rhythm. But here's the fascinating twist. Their internal day wasn't exactly 24 hours. It ran a bit longer, around 24 hours and 15 minutes. This revealed something crucial. We all have an innate biological rhythm, but it's not perfect. It runs slightly long. So what keeps us locked into a precise 24-hour cycle? Daylight. Sunlight acts like a finger resetting our slightly off internal watch every morning, winding it back to exactly 24 hours. Daylight is the most important signal for your master clock. Now, this internal clock doesn't just tell you when to wake or sleep. It creates your chronotype. Whether you're a morning lark or a night owl. About 40% of people are larks who love waking at dawn and function best in the morning. Around 30% are owls who naturally prefer staying up late and sleeping in. The remaining 30% fall somewhere in between. This isn't about willpower or discipline, it's written into your DNA. If you're a night owl, chances are one of your parents is too. Sadly, society heavily favors morning people. Standard 9-to-5 schedules, and especially early school start times, force night owls to live against their natural rhythm. This creates chronic sleep deprivation, and as a result, night owls face higher rates of depression, diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. So how does your master clock broadcast its daily signal throughout your body? Through a messenger molecule you've probably heard of, melatonin. Melatonin is often called the hormone of darkness. As evening arrives and light fades, your brain's clock tells a tiny gland, the pineal gland, to release melatonin into your bloodstream. Melatonin acts like a powerful megaphone, announcing to every corner of your brain and body, "It's dark, it's dark, time for sleep." Think of sleep as a 100-meter race. Melatonin is the official firing the starting pistol. It signals when the race begins, but doesn't actually run it. That's why melatonin supplements aren't powerful sleep aids for most people. They only help time when sleep starts, not generate the sleep itself. So that's System 1, the 24-hour circadian rhythm creating a daily wave of alertness and sleepiness. But there's a second force at work, building in your brain right now as you listen. This force is called sleep pressure, driven by a chemical called adenosine. From the moment you wake up, adenosine starts accumulating in your brain. The longer you stay awake, the more it builds. Think of it as a chemical measuring tape, constantly tracking how long you've been up. As adenosine concentration rises, so does your urge to sleep. This is sleep pressure. After about 12 to 16 hours awake, the pressure becomes almost impossible to resist. When you finally sleep, your brain gets a chance to clear away all that adenosine. After a full 8 hours, the slate's wiped clean and you wake refreshed. But you can artificially mute this adenosine signal. You can trick your brain into feeling awake even when sleep pressure is sky high. And you do it with the world's most widely used psychoactive drug, caffeine. Caffeine is the second most traded commodity on Earth, right after oil. Here's how it works. It's magic. In your brain, adenosine has specific receptors it plugs into to signal sleepiness. Caffeine has a similar shape to adenosine, so it fits into these same receptors. But instead of triggering sleepiness, caffeine blocks them. It's like plugging your ears to block out sound. Caffeine hijacks these receptors, effectively masking adenosine's sleepiness signal. The result? You feel alert and awake, even though adenosine keeps building in the background. The problem is, caffeine sticks around. It has a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours. So if you drink coffee at 7:30 in the evening, by 1:30 in the morning, 50% of that caffeine is still circulating in your brain. You're only halfway through clearing it. That's more than enough to disrupt your sleep, making it lighter and more fragmented. Most people never connect their terrible night's sleep with the coffee they had 10 hours earlier. And what happens when caffeine finally wears off? The infamous caffeine crash. While caffeine blocked the receptors, adenosine never stopped building. It was all still there, waiting. Once your liver finally breaks down the caffeine, that wall crashes down. You're suddenly slammed with all the sleepiness you would have felt hours ago, plus all the extra adenosine that accumulated meanwhile. The urge to sleep becomes overwhelming. Caffeine's power as a drug is astonishing. In the 1980s, NASA scientists gave spiders various drugs and observed the webs they built. Spiders on LSD, speed, and marijuana built distorted but recognizable webs. The spider on caffeine, however, couldn't construct anything remotely functional. The web was chaotic, a complete mess. It's a stark visual reminder that caffeine is powerful, and it's the only addictive drug we freely give children. So you've got these two systems, the 24-hour circadian rhythm creating waves of alertness, and sleep pressure from adenosine steadily building. Normally, these forces work in beautiful harmony. Your desire to sleep peaks when the gap between them is widest. Late at night, when sleep pressure maxes out, and circadian alertness hits its lowest point. Finally, you drift off. But what actually happens in your brain during the night? It's not just quiet rest. It's an incredibly active, complex journey through different sleep stages, a journey repeating every 90 minutes. This is your sleep architecture. There are two main types, non-REM or non-rapid eye movement sleep, and REM or rapid eye movement sleep. When you first fall asleep, you enter light non-REM stages. Then you descend into the deepest stages, stages 3 and 4, also called slow wave sleep. If you looked at brain waves during this phase, you'd see long, powerful rhythmic waves, like a slow, deep drumbeat. This is incredible neural synchrony, thousands of brain cells firing together in perfect harmony. Deep non-REM sleep is when profound restoration happens. Your brain does its most critical file transfer work. It takes new memories from fragile, short-term storage, the hippocampus, like a USB stick with limited space, and moves them to permanent, safe, long-term storage in the cortex. This process locks in new learning and, just as importantly, clears space in your hippocampus so you can learn new things tomorrow. But then, after deep non-REM sleep, your brain does something remarkable. It shifts into a completely different state, REM sleep. Brain waves during REM sleep look almost identical to when you're wide awake. In fact, some brain parts are up to 30% more active during REM than when you're awake. That's why it's called paradoxical sleep, a brain that looks awake in a body that's fast asleep. And during REM sleep, we have our most vivid, bizarre, emotional dreams. Why does the brain paralyze the body during this stage? To stop you from acting out your dreams. Imagine frantically running from a monster or fighting while actually in your bedroom. Wise of Mother Nature to create this physiological straitjacket so your mind can dream safely. The 90-minute cycle between non-REM and REM repeats all night. But the ratio changes dramatically. In the first half of the night, deep non-REM sleep dominates with very little REM. In the second half, especially early morning hours, that balance flips. Your sleep becomes REM-heavy, with very little deep non-REM. Dr. Walker uses a beautiful analogy here. Think of memory consolidation as creating a sculpture. Deep non-REM sleep, which comes first, is like the initial, extensive carving of raw clay, removing unnecessary material. REM sleep, coming later, is the fine detail work, etching intricate features and connecting different elements. This lopsided sleep architecture has a critical implication most of us miss. If you go to bed at midnight but wake at 6 for an early start, you're not just losing 2 hours of sleep, 25% of your 8-hour night. Because REM concentrates in early morning, you might lose 60, 70, or even 90% of your total REM sleep that night. You're cheating your brain of a fundamentally different kind of sleep with fundamentally different benefits. This brings us to the dark side. What are the consequences when this intricate, life-sustaining process gets disrupted? What happens when we don't get the sleep we need? The effects are immediate and devastating, first on your brain, then your body. Let's start with the brain. The first casualty, even with slight sleep loss, is your concentration. This leads to the most visible and fatal consequence of sleep loss in society: drowsy driving. Every hour in the United States, someone dies in a traffic accident due to fatigue. That's more than alcohol and drugs combined. Most aren't caused by people fully falling asleep at the wheel. They're caused by momentary attention lapses called microsleeps. For just a few seconds, your brain goes offline. It becomes blind to the world. At 65 miles per hour, in those few seconds, you've traveled a football field's length. In a landmark study, researchers restricted healthy adults to different sleep amounts for 2 weeks. One group got 8 hours, one got 6, one got 4. The 8-hour group maintained perfect performance. But the 6 and 4-hour groups showed steady decline. After just 10 days of 6-hour nights, their performance matched someone who'd been awake for 24 hours straight. The 4-hour group hit this level in just 4 days. But here's the most terrifying finding. When asked to rate their own performance, sleep-deprived participants were completely unaware how badly they were doing. They thought they were fine. This is sleep deprivation's insidious nature. You don't know how sleep-deprived you are when you're sleep-deprived. Your brain's self-assessment is useless. It's like a drunk person insisting they're fine to drive. After being awake 19 hours, you're as cognitively impaired as someone legally drunk. Beyond attention, sleep loss attacks your emotional brain. Without sleep, a key emotion center, the amygdala, your brain's anger and rage hub, becomes hyperactive, over 60% more reactive than an arrested brain. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational CEO part keeping emotions in check, goes quiet. The result is all emotional gas pedal, no brake. You become emotionally irrational and reactive. We all know this feeling. A small frustration you'd normally brush off becomes intense anger. This is why sleep deprivation links to higher risk of major psychiatric conditions like depression, anxiety, even suicidality. Then there's learning and memory. Many students believe all-nighters are the best exam prep. Dr. Walker's research proves this is like pouring water into a full glass. As we discussed, the hippocampus is your brain's short-term memory inbox. When it's full, you can't add new information. Deep sleep acts as file transfer, moving memories from hippocampus to long-term storage, clearing that inbox for tomorrow. Without sleep, that inbox stays full. In one study, sleep-deprived groups had a 40% deficit in making new memories compared to well-rested groups. MRI scans showed the hippocampus in sleepless brains had effectively shut down. No new experiences were getting in. By pulling an all-nighter, you're not just failing to learn, you're actively blocking your brain's learning ability. Perhaps the most alarming link is between sleep loss and Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's involves buildup of toxic protein in the brain called amyloid beta. The brain has a brilliant cleanup crew, the glymphatic system, that clears this metabolic waste. And here's the crucial part. This system is primarily active during deep non-REM sleep. During deep sleep, brain cells actually shrink, opening more space between them for cerebrospinal fluid to wash through and collect waste, including amyloid beta. So without enough deep sleep, your brain's sewage system can't function. Toxins build up. This creates a vicious cycle. The more amyloid accumulates, the more it attacks brain parts that generate deep sleep, preventing their cleanup job. Insufficient sleep is now recognized as one of the most significant lifestyle factors determining whether you'll develop Alzheimer's disease. The devastation doesn't stop with the brain. Every single body system suffers. Your cardiovascular system comes under immense strain. Just one night of reduced sleep speeds your heart rate and raises blood pressure. Routinely sleeping less than 6 hours nightly associates with a 200% increased risk of heart attack or stroke in your lifetime. We can see this in a dramatic global experiment happening twice yearly, daylight saving time. In spring, when we lose an hour of sleep, hospitals report a 24% spike in heart attacks the next day. In fall, when we gain an hour, heart attacks fall by 21%. That's how fragile and sensitive your body is to even the smallest sleep loss. What about metabolism? Sleeping less than 7 hours nightly disrupts blood sugar levels so profoundly it can classify you as pre-diabetic. Your body's cells become less responsive to insulin, the hormone managing blood sugar. Then there's weight gain. Short sleep messes with two critical appetite-controlling hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin says, "I'm full." Ghrelin says, "I'm hungry." When sleep-deprived, your body produces less leptin and more ghrelin. So your brain gets the signal you're starving, even after a huge meal. In studies, sleep-restricted people ate, on average, 300 to 500 extra calories daily. And it's not just eating more, it's what you eat. Cravings for sugary, salty, carb-heavy junk foods skyrocket. The rational, decision-making brain part weakens while primal, reward-driven parts amplify. You become a slave to impulses. The damage continues. Your reproductive system takes a hit. In one study, young, healthy men limited to 5 hours of sleep for just 1 week saw significant testosterone drops. The drop was so dramatic, it effectively aged them 10 to 15 years hormonally. For women, chronic sleep loss links to menstrual cycle disruptions and fertility difficulties. And then, your immune system. Sleep is like an elite special forces unit for your body's defenses. One of the most powerful weapons is a type of immune cell called natural killer cells. They're brilliant at identifying and destroying dangerous invaders, like cancer cells. In a shocking experiment, researchers found that after just one night of only 4 hours of sleep, there was a 70% reduction in these critical, cancer-fighting immune cells' activity. This is why lack of sleep now strongly links to increased risk for numerous cancer types, including bowel, prostate, and breast cancer. The evidence is so strong, the World Health Organization classified any nighttime shift work as a, quote, probable carcinogen. The assault even reaches the very core of your biological identity, your DNA. A week of 6-hour nights has been shown to distort activity of over 700 of your genes. Genes related to inflammation, stress, and cardiovascular disease switched on. Genes related to immune response and metabolic health switched off. Lack of sleep is, essentially, genetic engineering you perform on yourself nightly. It's a bleak picture, but it also illuminates the incredible, life-giving power a full night's sleep holds. If sleep loss causes this much damage, then getting enough sleep must be the ultimate preventative medicine. And that brings us to the most magical part of the night, the world of dreams. For a long time, dreams were seen as mere REM sleep byproducts, like heat from a light bulb, an unintended consequence, not the main function. But we now know this is profoundly wrong. Dreaming serves critical functions that REM sleep alone can't accomplish. The first is dreaming as overnight therapy. When you experience something emotional, that memory has two parts, the information itself and the emotion attached to it. It's the emotion that makes a memory painful or stressful. REM sleep and the dreaming within it has a remarkable ability to process these emotional memories. Here's how. REM sleep is the only time during 24 hours when your brain is completely free of noradrenaline, the anxiety-triggering chemical. It's a neurochemically calm, safe environment. During dreams, your brain reactivates emotional memories, but does so in this stress-free state. This process acts like nocturnal, soothing balm. It allows the brain to strip the painful emotional charge from the memory. You keep the memory but lose the emotional sting. This is why time is said to heal all wounds. It's not time itself, it's time spent in dream sleep providing emotional healing. We see this break down in PTSD, where patients suffer nightmares. Their brains have pathologically high noradrenaline levels, preventing therapeutic REM sleep. They get stuck in a loop, forced to relive trauma with original emotions still attached. The second function of dreaming is creativity and problem-solving. While deep non-REM sleep strengthens individual memories, REM sleep makes connections. It's informational alchemy. Your brain takes all new information you've gathered and starts colliding it with your entire back catalog of life experiences. In this bizarre hyper-associative state, the brain forges novel links between seemingly unrelated ideas. It steps back, sees the bigger picture, extracts the gist, and finds solutions our logical, waking brain could never see. This is why you're told to sleep on a problem. History is filled with dream-inspired breakthroughs. Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev struggled for years to find the organizational logic of elements. Frustrated, he fell asleep at his desk and dreamt of elements arranging themselves in a perfect table. He woke and wrote down the periodic table, one of modern chemistry's cornerstones. Paul McCartney woke one morning with the entire melody for Yesterday fully formed in his head. He'd dreamt it. Science has proven this isn't just anecdotes. In experiments, people who've had REM-rich sleep are up to 300% more likely to find creative solutions to difficult problems compared to those who stayed awake. The waking brain is like looking through a telescope backward, narrow, focused view. The dreaming brain turns the telescope around, giving a wide-angle lens to see the entire constellation of stored knowledge. So we have this incredible nightly gift, a biological imperative that heals emotional wounds, enhances creativity, fortifies immune systems, balances metabolism, and saves memories. Why on earth, then, have we abandoned it? What in our modern world so aggressively stops us from sleeping? Dr. Walker identifies 5 key culprits. First, constant electric light, specifically blue LED light. Before electricity, we lived in sync with the sun. Setting sun would trigger melatonin release, preparing us for sleep. Now our world floods with artificial light late into evening. Blue light from phones, tablets, and computer screens is particularly powerful at suppressing melatonin. Using an iPad for 2 hours before bed can block melatonin release by over 20%, delaying your ability to fall asleep. It tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. Second, regularize temperature. To initiate sleep, your body's core temperature needs to drop about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. This is why you often stick a foot or hand out from under covers. Your hands and feet are highly efficient radiators for shedding body heat. But we now live in homes with constant, comfortable temperatures. We fight against this natural thermal cycle our bodies need. A simple trick? A hot bath before bed. It sounds backward, but works because of the massive temperature drop you experience getting out, signaling to your brain it's time for sleep. Third is caffeine, which we've discussed. It keeps us wired and disrupts sleep quality long after we feel its effects. Fourth is alcohol. The nightcap is one of the most misunderstood sleep aids. Alcohol is a sedative. It knocks you out, but doesn't produce natural sleep. The brainwave state it induces is more like light anesthesia. Worse, alcohol fragments your sleep, causing repeated wake-ups throughout the night, even if you don't remember. And most destructively, it's one of the most powerful REM sleep suppressors we know. And the fifth culprit is a legacy of our industrial past, the alarm clock, and its evil sidekick, the snooze button. No other species artificially terminates sleep. When jolted awake by an alarm, your body suffers a blood pressure spike and shock heart rate acceleration. It's cardiovascular assault. Hitting snooze means you inflict that assault again and again. We've created a world fundamentally at war with our biology. We're squeezed between electrified nights and early morning start times, bathed in constant temperatures and fueled by caffeine and alcohol. We've divorced ourselves from the natural world, and in doing so, divorced ourselves from the one thing keeping us healthy within it. The silent sleep loss epidemic is the greatest public health challenge facing the 21st century. But unlike so many medical problems, the solution isn't hidden behind complex new drugs or expensive technology. It's simple, it's free, and it's waiting for you tonight. As we step back and look at the vast landscape of evidence Matthew Walker has laid out, one central, undeniable truth emerges. Sleep isn't an optional lifestyle luxury. It's a non-negotiable biological necessity. It's your life support system, and by neglecting it, we're actively choosing a shorter, less healthy, less vibrant life. The most powerful and perhaps most unsettling lesson from Why We Sleep is how quickly and completely we've forgotten this truth. In modern culture, we wear our lack of sleep like a badge of honor. We boast about pulling all-nighters, surviving on 4 or 5 hours. We see sleep as weakness, an enemy of productivity. We've stigmatized the very thing that makes us stronger, smarter, healthier, and happier. Why has this happened? I think it's because sleep loss consequences aren't always immediate and dramatic. It's not like a car crash or sudden illness. It's slow, silent erosion, gradual health decline, slow mental fogging, imperceptible emotional stability fraying. We don't connect the heart attack in our 50s with decades of 5-hour nights that preceded it. We don't link our anxiety struggle to chronic REM sleep deprivation we've been inflicting on ourselves. The cause and effect are separated by years, so we fail to see the connection. This book bridges that gap. It makes the invisible visible. It takes long-term consequences and places them squarely in front of us, making them impossible to ignore. So what can we do? The problem can feel overwhelming, embedded in our society's very fabric, work culture, school systems, 24/7 digital lives. But change doesn't need to be revolutionary. It can start with small, simple, profoundly effective actions. If I were to distill all the advice in this book to a few core principles, they'd be these. First, and most importantly, regularity. Go to bed at the same time and wake at the same time every single day, no matter what. Yes, even weekends. Your brain craves predictability. Regularity is king. It anchors your sleep and improves both quantity and quality. If there's one takeaway today, let it be this. Set a bedtime alarm on your phone. We have alarms to wake us. It's time we had alarms telling us it's time to wind down and sleep. Second, create a sleep sanctuary. Your bedroom should be cool, dark, and gadget-free. Think of it as a cave. We're biologically programmed to sleep in such environments. Get blackout curtains. Turn your thermostat down. And, I know this one's hard, but charge your phone and other devices outside the bedroom. Create a psychological and physical barrier between your waking digital life and your restorative, sleeping life. And third, give yourself a chance to wind down. We don't have an on-off switch for sleep. It's more like landing a plane. It requires slow, gradual descent. Don't check work emails or scroll social media right until lights out. Give yourself an hour before bed to transition. Read a book, listen to calm music, meditate, or take a warm bath. Protect that last hour of your day as if your life depends on it, because, as we've learned, it does. This isn't about finding more hours in the day. It's about recognizing the hours we spend asleep are the single most effective investment we can make in the hours we spend awake. It's the ultimate productivity hack, wellness plan, and creative muse. That was a summary of Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. We've touched on the incredible science today, but I'll be honest. Hearing me talk about it is one thing. Experiencing the author's passion and evidence weight firsthand is another. A summary can give you the map, but can't replace the journey. This book's real power lies in quiet reading moments when a particular story or staggering statistic lands unexpectedly and fundamentally shifts your perspective. This summary is your invitation to see if this journey's for you. If anything we've talked about today struck a chord, I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you value your health, your mind, and your time on this earth. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.